My beloved child, perhaps you yourself have sensed something very subtle in recent days. You are still managing your work, still showing up for others, still fulfilling your responsibilities, still busy to the point where there seems to be no empty space left. And yet, in the midst of all that motion, I have slowly been moved to the margins. Not because you intentionally forgot me, but because you grew accustomed to living on momentum, accustomed to letting time be consumed by what needs to be done rather than what needs to be remained with. And so this moment is not an accident. I have gently led you here, not through pressure or force, but through a stillness deep enough for you to begin hearing your own heart again. I want you to understand that I do not blame you for the days you are weary. Nor do I condemn you for the moments when survival took precedence over connection. But I love you too much to allow you to keep drifting without being reminded. And so I speak to you now not as a rebuke, as a remembering about the times I have called you not once, not twice, but through many moments spread across seasons when you thought you were choosing on your own. While in truth I was quietly turning your heart to protect you from paths that could have cost you yourself. The first calling came when you were full of passion. You believed you were strong, believed you could go far on sheer willpower alone. I called you then through excitement, through doors that open quickly, through the feeling that anything is possible. But when you began leaning more on your own strength than on my guidance, I allowed you to slow down, not to punish you, but to keep you from straying too far from your center. The second calling came in the days of exhaustion when you had given too much for too long and began trading inner presence for outward appearance. That time I called you through weariness, through unanswered questions so you could learn how to return, how to rest, how to stop proving anything to me. And now this is the third calling. This calling is not loud. It does not arrive like a storm, nor does it carry collapse with it. It comes quietly, clearly, intimately close. I am calling you not because you are seriously off course, but because you are standing at a far more delicate crossroads. One path is familiar, a place where you know how to survive, how to endure, how to repeat old patterns. That path will not destroy you immediately, but it will slowly numb you, numb your emotions, hollow out your joy, and drain the life within you. You have walked that road before, and you know its feeling to live without truly living, to move forward without ever really arriving. The other path, the one I am lighting right now, does not promise ease, but it promises restoration, not surface repair, but renewal from the roots. This path invites you to stop long enough to listen, to return to me, the central place you have unintentionally given to other concerns. On this road, you do not need to run faster, nor do you need to prove your worth. You only need to remain with me. Remain with the truth within you. Remain with the breath I placed in you from the beginning. I know you are standing at this crossroads with many questions. You fear that choosing me will slow you down. But my beloved child, what I am inviting you into is not delay. It is alignment. When an instrument is properly tuned, it does not lose its sound. It rediscovers its true tone. In the same way, when you return to me, you do not lose your life. You recover the life you have been trading away for business far too long. There is one thing I want you to etch deeply into your heart at this moment. I am not calling you to take something away from you, but to preserve what matters most. I am calling you so you do not continue living in cycles that quietly wear down your soul. I am calling you because I see you not only what you can do, but what you have been carrying in silence. And I am calling you now because you are mature enough to hear, discerning enough to recognize, and safe enough to return without fear of condemnation. Scripture offers a reminder that is gentle yet unmistakably clear. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. That stillness is not an escape from life, but the place where you learn to live again from the center. When you remember who I am, you also begin to remember who you are. Not through achievements, not through roles, but through the bond between me and you that has never been broken. My beloved child, this third call does not demand that you change everything in a single day. It simply invites you to place me back where I truly belong. Not as an optional presence you turn to when time allows, but as the living source from which all else is sustained. If you choose the path I am illuminating, you will no longer have to live within that familiar numbness. You will begin to feel life again slowly, deeply, and truthfully. And I will walk with you step by step as I always have. Even on the days you believed you were walking alone, my beloved child, I have seen every hurried step you took during those months. It was not that I was unaware of what you were doing, nor that I turned away when you veered toward directions I had never given you. I saw it all clearly, not with eyes of judgment, but with the gaze of one who understands to the deepest place. You did not drift from me out of rebellion, nor did you turn your back in pride to live by your own will. The truth is gentler and yet more painful. You were tired. So tired that you believed if you did not brace yourself, fix things yourself, and manage everything on your own, it would all collapse. And in that exhaustion, you began to believe that only your own understanding could save you from where you stood. You grew accustomed to constantly doing something just to feel that you still had control over your life. When I led you to slow down, when my guidance no longer came through loud signs or dramatic turns, confusion began to rise within you. My silence frightened you because you mistook silence for abandonment. You did not realize that there are seasons when I do not speak loudly. Not because I have left, but because I am inviting you to learn how to listen more deeply. Yet instead of stopping, you ran faster. You knocked on doors I had closed not to punish you, but to protect you from paths that would slowly wear you down. I know that feeling when a door closes and your heart refuses to accept it. You think that if you try a little harder, bend a little more, endure a little longer, that door will open. But my beloved child, there are doors that do not open because there is no life for you behind them. There are doors that close because if you were to walk through, the cost would be the very peace it took me so long to restore within you. I closed those spaces quietly. Yet you mistook that quietness for a test of your perseverance. And so you kept knocking, not with your fists, but with excessive sacrifice, with shrinking yourself, with accepting what left your soul weary. You also held tightly to people I was gently loosening from your life. Not because they were bad and not because you were wrong to love them. But some connections belong only to a season. When that season passes, if you insist on holding on, love becomes a burden and attachment turns into a cord pulling you away from yourself. I touch your heart many times, allowing you to feel the constriction of remaining in spaces that no longer fit you. Yet the fear of loneliness made you choose what was familiar and draining over what was new and still undefined. You did not know that I was making room for other relationships that would nourish you rather than exhaust you. There were opportunities you pursued with all the remaining passion you had. You believed that if you missed them, you would fall behind. But I never placed those opportunities on your path. They may have appeared reasonable, attractive, perfectly timed, but they did not carry my breath. I had not sown my peace into those choices. And so each time you drew closer, your restlessness only grew. You assumed it was because you had not tried hard enough, sacrificed enough, or proven yourself enough. But the truth is this. What I have not prepared will never bring lasting peace, no matter how much you trade away for it. Throughout the time you were running, I never left you. I did not stand at a distance waiting for you to stumble before returning. I was very near, so near that if you had paused for even a moment, you would have felt me. I called to you not with raised voices, but through sudden weariness. I guided you not with commands, but through the emptiness you felt even when everything appeared fine. I waited for you not in irritation but in the patience of a love that already knew how long it would take you to realize this truth. You were never created to carry everything alone. My beloved child, what I have truly been preparing for you has never lived in haste. It does not require you to compete, nor does it ask you to twist yourself to fit a circumstance that drains you. What I have for you has room for breath, space for presence, and a rhythm that does not exhaust your soul. But to step into it, you must allow me to lead you, not as a spiritual idea you return to when time permits, but as the true guide of your life. I cannot lead you if you are always running ahead, deciding first and only then coming back to ask me to bless choices that are already finished. There is a passage of scripture I want you to hear not only with your mind but with your heart. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him and He will make your path straight. Proverbs 3 verse 56. Trust does not mean that you sit still and do nothing. Trust means that you walk. But you allow me to set the direction. To acknowledge me is not merely to remember me in prayer, but to let me participate in every decision, every choice, every crossroads you are standing before. You do not need to turn back time to correct those hurried steps. I do not keep a ledger of failures as you fear what you call detours. I call learning paths. But now I am inviting you to stop, not to shame you, but to lighten you. I am inviting you to release doors that have already closed, to loosen ties that have reached the end of their season, and to stop chasing what does not carry my life within it. Not because you have failed, but because you have gone far enough to realize that you were not created to live this way forever. I am still here, not angry, not weary, not turned away. I am still calling, still pointing, still waiting. And if you will allow me, I will lead you into what I prepared from the beginning. A path that does not cost you yourself. A rhythm of living that does not leave your soul dry. And a future where you no longer have to run just to survive, but can remain present in order to truly live. My beloved child, pause for a moment and look more deeply at what you once called failure. Remember the deal that seemed firmly in your grasp only to vanish at the last minute. The project into which you poured both hope and strength only to see it collapse just before its unveiling. The door that slammed shut at the very moment you believed you had already stepped halfway inside. You asked yourself again and again, why me? Why now within you? Those questions carried not only regret but also doubt. Doubt about yourself, doubt about the path you were on, and at times even doubt about my presence. But my beloved, I want you to understand this with a peace deeper than any explanation. Those doors did not close because you were inadequate, nor because you were late or lacked effort. They closed because I was redirecting you. Not redirecting you in panic, but in the absolute intentionality of the one who sees the entire road. Even when you are standing only at the first bend, you see what is directly in front of you. A short stretch of road, a specific opportunity, an outcome that appears reasonable. But I see the end, the turns that follow, and the hidden costs you would have paid if you had continued. Even when the surface resembled success, some things come to you beautifully packaged. They speak the language of opportunity, carry the promise of expansion, and awaken the feeling that at last it is my turn. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission will grow into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Giving to this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-fi community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through hearts that are kind. This is what I say over you now. Each gift you give is like a stream of living water that flows into the life of someone who needs healing. Give and it will be given to you. It's not just a verse for Jesus. It is a living promise that shapes your future. Allow me to invite you now with a simple act of faith. Come into this moment with purpose, with honesty, and with hope. The money you give today is not a donation. The act of spiritual obedience that lets your heavens open is what opens them. Let go of your seed and see what God brings back into your life. But not everything that shines is a blessing. Some traps are disguised with great subtlety, not through obvious evil, but through just enough logic to keep you from questioning. I saw what you had not yet seen. The quiet depletion that would follow, the small but ongoing compromises, the entanglements that would slowly erode your inner freedom. And because I love you, I did not allow you to swallow those traps. Even though it caused you pain in the present, I know that when a project dissolves, the deepest pain is not the loss of money or time, but the feeling that all your effort has suddenly become meaningless. You asked me in silence, then what was all my striving for, my beloved child? Nothing you have offered in sincerity is ever wasted. What you learned, the maturity you gained, the depth you now carry, these are all being held by me and placed in the right position at the right time. I do not dismantle in order to destroy. I dismantle in order to rearrange. There are doors that closed so abruptly, so decisively that they wounded you because they left no space for explanation, no chance for repair. But you did not realize that if I had allowed those doors to remain open, even a little longer, you would have attached more deeply, wagered more heavily. And when the truth finally surfaced, the wound would have been far greater. I chose short-term pain to protect you from long-term fracture. I chose to let you grieve today rather than lose your way for years to come. My beloved child, I am not changing your direction because you have gone wrong, but because you are about to go too far from the place you were created to belong. There are paths that can lead you very high, earn you much admiration, yet leave you profoundly alone. There are summits that demand the price of inner peace, of healthy relationships, of the very softness within your soul. I know you could climb them. You are capable, resilient, intelligent enough. But I do not want you to live a life where outward success grows larger while the emptiness inside you grows deeper. I see the end from the beginning. When you look at an opportunity, you see its potential for your life. When I look, I see its impact on the person you are becoming. I see whether it will harden you or soften you, draw you closer to me or slowly pull you away, help you live truthfully, or force you to wear a mask. And if something requires you to trade your inner honesty for outward advancement, I will not let you go on, not because I am withholding, but because I am your Father. At times you think I have come too late, that if I had intervened sooner, you would not have hoped so deeply. But my beloved, I always arrive at the right moment. I allow you to come close enough to learn what you must learn, but not so far that you must pay with wounds that are hard to heal. Some lessons are only etched deeply when you have invested your heart. And when you have learned enough, I change the direction decisively, clearly, without negotiation. Scripture speaks a line you may rarely linger on. Yet it names exactly what you are living through. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. Isaiah 55 verse 8. This is not meant to make you feel small or inadequate, but to give you rest. You do not need to see everything, understand everything, or control everything. Your work is not to see as far as I do, but to trust when you can only see a short stretch ahead. My beloved, when I close a door, I am not stealing your future from you. I am protecting it. When I allow a deal to fade away, I am keeping you from bindings that would rob you of your freedom. When I let a project dissolve, I am guarding you from building your life on an unstable foundation. And when I change your direction, I am not leading you into emptiness. I am leading you out of what merely seems right and into what is truly fitting. There will come a day when you look back and realize that the doors which once made you weep were the very doors that kept you whole. The rejections were protections, and the redirections that felt so painful were how I brought you closer to the person I had seen in you long before, someone not only successful but at peace. Not only going far but living truthfully, not only gaining much but never losing yourself along the way. My beloved, now I want you to listen not only with your ears, but with the full depth of your soul. Listen to the meaning hidden within. All you have passed through, the losses that tightened your throat, the endings that left you unsteady, the redirections that confused you. None of it was meaningless. Not a single tear you shed fell without carrying a message. And if you become quiet enough, you will hear them all speaking together in a clear whisper. I have never taken my eyes off you. And I am leading you closer to what I intended from the beginning. When you weep over what has been lost, you think you are moving backward. You believe you are standing amid the ruins of hopes that once felt real, close, almost within reach. But in that moment when you bow under the weight of pain, I am quietly preparing what is coming. Not with haste, not with dramatic signs, but with careful arrangement in the unseen realm. You do not see the meetings being woven together, the conditions being aligned, the doors being formed in silence. I do my best work not when you can see it, but when you learn to trust even when you see nothing at all. When you mourn the doors that have closed, you imagine your life's opportunities are narrowing. You wonder whether you have missed something that can never be recovered. But my beloved, the doors I allow to close are not a rejection of your life. They are a choice for your future. I do not close to deprive you. I close to replace. What I am creating for you is not merely different but better. Better for who you truly are. Better for your lasting peace. Better for a journey that will not require you to trade yourself in order to keep going. You do not yet see that some doors, if open, would require you to shrink your dreams to fit their space. Some thresholds, if crossed, would force you into constant strain, always trying to prove that you deserve to remain. I do not want that for you. And so I allow those doors to stay closed, even when you stand before them with all your hope while you ache because the old door will not open. I am building a new entrance, one you can step into without surrendering your inner freedom. When you feel as though you are losing your footing. When what once felt familiar can no longer hold you. When the place you leaned on suddenly feels fragile. You think you are falling. But my beloved, this is not a fall. It is a shift. I am placing you in the right position for a breakthrough that if it came too early, you would not be able to sustain. Some heights require deep foundations. Some leaps can only be made when the fear of loss has been released. Clear's throat, and I am using that very feeling of having no place to stand to detach you from temporary ground, so that you will not build your future on what could collapse at any moment. My beloved child, every disappointment you pass through is not a sign that I am opposing you. It is a sign that I am intervening. Every ending is not the conclusion of your life story but a necessary period so that another chapter can begin. And every turning point, whether it arrives through pain or confusion, is both preparation and protection. I prepare you by expanding your inner life, making you deeper, steadier, and more discerning between what is merely attractive and what is truly aligned. I protect you by keeping you from paths that would demand the price of the very identity I have planted within you. You have often asked yourself, why does everything have to be so hard? But my beloved, if you look back carefully, you will see that it was precisely the hardest seasons that made you most real. When things are easy, you can move forward on momentum alone. But when everything is stripped away, you are forced to return to the core, to what you believe, what you love, and what you were created to become. I am not concerned with how fast you move. I am concerned with whether you are walking in alignment with your true self. There is a verse of scripture I want to place in your heart now, not as a slogan, but as an anchor. The Lord will fulfill His purpose for me. O Lord, your mercy endures forever. Psalm 138 verse 8, fulfill, not abandon. This means your story does not end with what you have lost. It means the chapters you are hurting through are not the final ones. It means that even when you no longer understand where you are standing, I know exactly where I am leading you. My beloved child, I do not deny your pain. I do not ask you to pretend to be strong or to move on quickly. But I invite you to see that pain through a different light. It is not evidence of failure. It is the sign of a transition. What is slipping from your hands now will not define you. What is coming, though you cannot yet see its shape, is what will rewrite your life story in ways you once never dared to imagine. There will come a time when you look back and realize that the days you thought you were losing everything were the very days I was making room for something greater. The moments when you stood in emptiness were the moments I was expanding your inner capacity. And the times you felt pushed to the margins were the moments I was placing you at the center of something new. Something that does not merely change your circumstances but redefines is who you are and where you belong. Trust me, my beloved, not because everything is clear, but because I am clear even when you cannot yet see. Every disappointment, every ending, every turn you have walked through is not an end. It is my hand continuing to write your story. A story deeper, truer, and far more beautiful than anything you once imagined. My beloved child, now I can say this to you with complete peace. You are ready. Not ready in the way you once thought. Not because you have all the answers or because fear has vanished, but because your inner foundation has been set in the right place. There are things only you and I know of: the seasons when you were worn down in silence. The moments you chose faithfulness when no one was watching. The times you let go while your hands were still trembling. Those moments shaped your character not through achievement but through small acts of obedience repeated again and again. Not through loud victories, but through standing firm when everything was quiet. The season has changed. My beloved, you may not yet have words for this new season, but you can feel it like lighter air, like deeper breathing, like a heart that no longer tightens at the thought of the future. The old season has fulfilled its purpose. It came to teach you what you needed to learn, to strip away what no longer fit, to reveal the core I planted from the beginning. And when that season closed, I did not leave you exposed in the void. I changed the season not to cause loss, but to bring you into alignment with who you have become. What is coming is better than what you lost. Not better by the world's glittering standards, but better in ways that are deep, real, and enduring. Better because it does not demand that you trade peace for progress. Better because it allows you to live authentically instead of performing a role. Better because it matches the rhythm of life. I am healing within you. There were things you did not even know how to ask for. Not because your faith was lacking, but because you did not yet have the inner language to name them. Now, as you have matured in depth, I can place those things in your hands without fear that they will become a burden. This restoration is not a simple replacement, as if I were swapping the old for what was lost. No, my beloved, this is an upgrade. What I bring does not merely fill the empty spaces. It expands your capacity from within. You will notice that you no longer cling to what comes to you out of fear of losing it because you have learned that what belongs to me does not depart in panic. This upgrade touches how you see yourself, how you steward resources, how you build relationships, and how you walk in your calling without needing to prove yourself. Doors that once resisted you, places where you knocked until you were weary, will begin to open gently. You will be surprised by how little persuasion is required, how you no longer need to diminish yourself or race ahead. What once felt confusing will become clear as this awakening grows inside you. Know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself. Jesus says, this is not history. It is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. What once seemed distant will draw near. Not because you suddenly became more capable, but because the timing has weaponed. I did not change my intention. I changed the timing to protect you. And when a door opens in its proper season, you step through not exhausted, but inwardly ready. Resources you once could not reach will begin to flow. Not in overwhelming torrents, but in steady measures you can steward well. You will see provision coming from directions you did not anticipate. Carefully aligned connections, opportunities that do not demand compromise of your principles, support that arrives at the right moment. I am teaching you how to receive without feeling indebted. How to give without fear of depletion. For the abundance I give does not inflate the ego. It anchors you more deeply in humility. People with genuine capacity to help will find their way to you. Not those enthusiastic only in words, but those with depth, discipline, and a heart to serve. They will recognize you not because you strive to shine, but because your consistency has become a language. You will no longer need to strain for recognition. Alignment will speak for itself, and you will have the wisdom to discern between sincere support and disguised entanglement. A lesson you learned through earlier wounds. Ideas carrying solutions to long-standing problems will come to you like sudden sparks, unexpected yet unmistakably clear. You will find yourself understanding what once felt blocked, connecting scattered pieces, and seeing challenges from a new vantage point. This is not momentary cleverness, but the fruit of a mind that has been quieted. When the inner noise falls silent, creativity begins to speak. I am placing within you ideas not only to resolve what is before you but to open sustainable paths for the long journey ahead. My beloved child, all of these things are not coming to prove that you were right to endure nor to compensate you for past losses. They are coming because you are now ready to keep them. I do not place what is precious into the hands of someone who does not yet know how to protect it. You have learned to say no to what is not aligned. You have learned to wait without becoming bitter. You have learned to move forward without leaving your soul behind. That is the foundation. And that foundation is now strong enough to carry something greater. There is a verse of scripture I want to set into this moment as a marker for your new season. What no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, and what no human mind has conceived, the things God has prepared for those who love Him. 1 Corinthians 2 verse 9, you have not missed the best. You are stepping into it. And what is coming is not only about outcomes but about how you will live when those outcomes arrive. Without panic, without arrogance, without losing your center, walk slowly but steadily, my beloved, do not rush, for you are no longer in a season of running. Do not shrink back, for you are no longer in a season of defense. I am going before you, clearing the way with the wisdom you will recognize. Step by step. When you feel lighter, it is not because you have given up. It is because you have stopped resisting my leading. When things begin to fall into place, it is not luck. It is alignment. Now receive. Noise is required. No display is necessary. Simply remain faithful to what is opening before you. This restoration will redefine the story of your life. Not through one explosive moment, but through a succession of days lived truthfully, deeply, and rightly. And in each of those days, you will know what is better has not only arrived, it has come to stay. My beloved child, when I speak, it is not merely a sound that rises and dissolves into nothingness. My word carries order, intention, and creative authority. The moment I speak, things you cannot see begin to shift. The deeper layers of the unseen realm, where human senses cannot reach, are rearranged with precision. What was tangled, stagnant, or disordered is returned to its proper place, not in chaos, but under perfect coordination. I do not need to rush, for a single word from me is enough to change the direction of an entire season. When I declare something, reality does not argue. It reshapes itself in obedience. Not because it is forced, but because it recognizes its source. Everything that was created remembers the word that called it forth in the beginning. So when I speak, what seemed fixed begins to soften. What you thought was a dead end begins to show a seam. What was locked for a long time begins to tremble like an old door being unlocked from within. You may not see the process with natural eyes, but your soul can feel it. A lightness, a deep movement, a sensation difficult to name yet impossible to deny. And now I am declaring over your life, not as a vague hope, but as an authoritative establishment, the season of lack is closing. And the season of restoration is beginning. I do not say this to stir brief excitement only to let you fall back into old anxieties. I say it because the foundation has been prepared. The timing has matured and you have come far enough in your growth to carry what I am about to entrust to you. A season of lack is not only about material shortage. It is a season marked by uncertainty, by insufficient support, by the feeling of not flowing in the right rhythm. That season has completed its work. It has taught you to discern what is essential from what is excess, and now it is closing. Restoration does not arrive as a sudden reversal that overwhelms you. It comes like underground water. Quiet at first, then steady and eventually unstoppable. Restoration is not merely the return of what was lost. It is the return of the parts of yourself you had to set aside in order to survive. I restore how you trust, how you wait, how you receive. I restore inner freedom so you no longer live in constant vigilance. I restore your ability to see far without becoming scattered. To dream big without losing your roots. What was delayed is now being released. But understand this clearly, my beloved. Delay is not rejection. Some things, had they arrived earlier, would have broken you. Even if you could not see it then. I held them back not because you were unworthy but because you were not yet steady. And that steadiness did not come from having more resources, but from learning how to stand upright even when there was nothing to lean on. Now, as I loosen my hand, what is released no longer frightens you. You do not hold it with the fear of losing it, but with mature gratitude. What was blocked is being cleared away. The obstructions you could not explain. The resistance you could not name. The loops that made you feel you were always almost there but never arriving. They are being removed. Not because you found the right strategy, but because I touched the root. When the root is addressed, the flow returns naturally. You will notice the difference. Tasks that once required great effort will move more smoothly. Encounters that were once strained will turn cooperative. Steps that were repeatedly pulled back will begin to gain momentum. If something within your spirit is moving as you read these words, if you feel a subtle vibration inside, that is not accidental. It is a sign that you are in sync with what I am doing. Some truths do not need to be analyzed. They are recognized through resonance. I do not require you to understand everything. I simply invite you to remain in my presence. Remain in deep breathing. Remain in a trust that is quiet yet enduring. My beloved child, when I say remain with me, I am not calling you away from life. I am inviting you to live from the center, from the place where you are no longer pulled by fear or haste, where you can discern what is true movement and what is temporary noise. Remaining is not standing still. Remaining is allowing me to lead. When you remain, your decisions become clearer, your priorities more refined, and your steps less draining. There is a scripture perfectly suited for this moment. One that does not shout yet carries the weight of certainty. So is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it. Isaiah 551. When I have declared it, I take responsibility for its fulfillment. Your part is not to force the outcome, but to walk alongside in trust. You do not have to strain to keep my promise alive. My promise carries its own life. My beloved child, the days ahead may not be as loud or dramatic as you once imagined. Yet you will recognize the shift through very real signs. A peace that needs no explanation. Doors opening without debate. Ideas arriving without panic attached to them. You will notice that you are no longer living in a constant state of waiting for things to be taken away, but in a posture of readiness to receive. This difference is subtle, yet it changes everything. Allow this new season to arrive at its proper pace. Do not pull it forward out of impatience and do not doubt it simply because you have grown accustomed to lack. I am teaching you a new way of living, one where abundance does not distract you and stillness does not make you stagnant. I am reshaping the reality around you so that it fits the person you have become, not the person you once had to strain to be just to survive. And if in this moment you still feel fragile, that does not contradict what I have just declared. Fragility does not mean weakness. Fragility means openness. When your heart is open, I can guide you more easily. When you are not armored, the flow moves through you more fully. So do not force yourself to be strong in the old way. Let me be strong through you, my beloved child. There is a very thin line between being given something new and being ready to receive something new. I do not say this to place pressure on you, but to open a gentle truth that cannot be avoided. What I am bringing cannot travel alongside the old baggage you have carried for too long. Not because I am harsh, but because I love you too much to let you enter a new season with shoulders already broken by burdens that are no longer necessary to receive. You must release to step forward. You must set things down, not painfully, but in trust, trusting that I do not take away to leave you empty, but to make you free. Let go of the habit of carrying everything alone. I know you learned this early, not because strength came naturally to you, but because there were seasons when you had no other choice. There were times when you had to stand up on your own, figure things out alone, and quietly mend fractures no one ever saw. But my beloved, what once helped you survive is now preventing you from truly living. You are no longer in a season where you must prove how much you can endure. I did not create you to shoulder an entire lifetime alone. I created you for companionship with me and with those I place beside you at the right time. Set down the familiar mask, the one that says, I'm fine. While something inside you is cracking, I am not deceived by your smile. And I do not need you to perform before me. Honesty does not make you weaker. It allows you to be healed. There are fractures you have hidden for so long that you have forgotten what it feels like to be supported. But my beloved, what I am giving does not require you to pretend to be strong in order to deserve it. What I give requires an open heart, not a perfect image. Surrender the identity built around survival. I know that identity once saved you in harsh seasons when you had to be quick, vigilant, and always prepared for the worst. But a survival identity cannot enter a season of glory. It sees life through the lens of scarcity, clings tightly out of fear of loss, and stays guarded out of fear of being wounded again. You cannot carry shame into a season of glory because glory is not a spotlight. It is a presence that no longer needs to hide. Glory is standing upright in who you truly are without apologizing for your own existence. You also cannot carry a poverty mindset into a season of abundance. A poverty mindset is not only about money. It is about the fear of not being enough. The fear of being left behind. The fear that opportunities will never return if you do not seize them immediately. That mindset makes you rush, makes you compromise, makes you trade peace for a false sense of security. My abundance is not built on fear of loss, but on deep trust that the source does not run dry. You are about to enter your divine future. Remember that this message does not end with you. People can use your breakthrough to get where they need to go through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our COF community, you can help this mission. By doing so, you are sowing into the awakening, deliverance, and restoration of souls who are still trapped in darkness. This is not poetry. When Jesus says, "Give, and heaven will open over you," every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and safety for your family. Now is your time, my child. Have faith, and as you do, watch God multiply what you let go of. When you live from that trust, you can give without feeling diminished and receive without feeling indebted. Nor can you bring yesterday's pain into tomorrow's promise. Not because I deny what you have been through, but because pain that has not been released will distort how you perceive what is new. You will doubt even when blessing arrives and remain guarded, even when safety has already been established. I do not want you stepping into what I have prepared with eyes that are always scanning for danger. I want you to enter with a calm attentiveness, able to discern what requires caution and what can be trusted. So I ask you not to test you, but to invite you. Can you let go? Can you release the habits that once helped you survive but no longer serve who you are becoming? Are you willing to loosen your grip on the old stories you have told yourself that you must handle everything alone? That you cannot rely on anyone, that if you do not control things, they will collapse. Can you trust me enough to step into what you cannot yet see in full, but can already feel through the quiet peace beginning to rise within you? I know surrender can feel like losing control. You have grown used to gripping tightly plans, pace, outcomes because that grip gave you a sense of safety. But my beloved, hear this with your whole soul. You were never in control. You were only carrying a burden I never asked you to bear. I am the one who holds authority. I have always been the one who holds authority. And my authority is not distant or cold. It is the authority of a father who knows when to close, when to open, when to let you walk on your own, and when to carry you across a stretch of road that is simply too steep. My control does not cancel your freedom. It releases you from the fear of having to carry everything on your own. When you surrender, you do not disappear. You return to your rightful place. When you let go, you do not lose. You receive again. You receive back the lightness you had forgotten. The joy that needs no reason. The ability to trust without checking everything 10 times. Surrender is not defeat. It is resting in the truth that you are being held. There is a verse of scripture I want to place into this moment like a key opening an inner door within you. Cast your burden on the Lord and He will sustain you. Psalm 55 and 222. Cast not throwing it away in anger but placing it into His hands with trust. He will sustain you not only when you are completely exhausted but the very moment you choose to stop bracing yourself. That sustaining does not make you weaker. It makes you steadier than you have ever been. My beloved child, what I am inviting you to release is not healthy responsibility, but excess weight. I am not taking away your voice. I am healing it so it no longer trembles with fear. I am not taking away your ability to choose. I am illuminating it so you no longer have to choose in confusion. I am not removing your initiative. I am restoring its proper rhythm. So you no longer burn yourself out. Imagine stepping into this new season with empty hands. Not empty as in lacking, but open and ready. No longer clinging to what has already passed its season. No longer carrying old labels about who you must be. Those open hands will receive more than you expect. Clear guidance, healthy relationships, opportunities that do not demand you trade away your identity. But if your hands are still busy holding on, you will not be able to receive what I am offering. So my beloved child, let go little by little, breath by breath, day by day. Release shame by naming it. Release scarcity thinking by practicing gratitude. Release old pain by allowing me to touch the memories you once locked away. And when you let go, let me hold what you release. I do not drop it. I do not forget. I do not place it in the wrong hands. I am here not pressuring, not threatening, not distant. I am here with steady hands and a warm heart. What is new is waiting for you. Not on the far side of extreme effort, but on the far side of trusting surrender. And when you step across that threshold, you will realize this. The very place where you feared losing control is where you find the peace you have been searching for all along. My beloved child, I want you to understand that the key I am placing in your hand does not lie in asking for more, nor in forcing yourself to believe harder by sheer willpower. The key lies in clarity before me. For a long time, you have grown accustomed to offering broad general prayers. As though vagueness might protect you from disappointment if what you hoped for did not arrive. But my beloved child, vagueness is not faith. It is often the sign of a heart that has been hurt too deeply to dare to name what it truly needs. I do not rebuke you for this. I am simply inviting you into a more mature level of relationship between you and me. One where you no longer hide behind broad concepts, but dare to stand before me with the concrete truth of your life. I do not need you to pray with elegant words. I do not need religious language to prove that you understand me. What I seek is honesty with substance. When you say, "Grant me peace," yet your heart is shaking over a depth with a very real due date, I want you to say that plainly. When you pray for health, but your mind is haunted by a specific diagnosis you are too afraid to name, I want you to call it out. When you speak of relationships, yet at night you think only of one person, one fracture, one conversation that was never finished, I want you to place that very thing before me. Not because I do not already know. I know more than you realize, but because you need to bring it into the light so it no longer controls you from the shadows. My beloved child, I am the God of the details you think are small. I do not only care for the great destiny of your life. I also attend to each specific burden pressing on your sleep every night. I know how much you need, not enough in a general sense, but the exact amount. I know the deadline you are facing, not merely soon, but the day, the hour. I know your pain is not simply heartache but where it comes from, how long it has lasted, and how many layers of silence have covered it. When you dare to be specific with me, you are not limiting my power. You are opening the precise door through which that power can enter. There are prayers that seem unanswered, not because I am slow, but because you have not yet dared to ask for what truly needs to be touched. You ask for things to be better, but I am waiting for you to say clearly better where, in which area, for which situation. You ask me to intervene, but you have not yet defined the exact place where you want my hand to rest. I do not operate in vagueness. I operate in clear agreement. When you name what needs restoration, you are telling me this. I trust you enough to face this together. Understand this deeply, my beloved child. What is left unnamed will continue to quietly govern you. It remains beneath the surface like an underground current shaping your decisions, distorting how you perceive the future and keeping you in a defensive posture even when the real danger has long passed. But what is named begins to be healed when you speak it aloud. You do not make the problem larger. You bring it to its true size before me. And anything that is placed at its true size before me is never too great for me to handle. I invite you to speak to me in the language of real life. I need this amount of money to resolve that debt. I am afraid because of this diagnosis. I need reconciliation in this relationship with this person. I must make a decision before this deadline and I no longer have the clarity to manage it on my own. These words do not distance you from me. They draw you closer. I am not disturbed by your specificity. I am only grieved when you believe you must keep your distance, must carry everything alone, must endure silently so as not to burden me. My beloved child, I am not a God who appears only in solemn moments. I am a Father present in ordinary details, bills, test results, difficult conversations and decisions. You do not know whom else to ask. There is something I want you to recognize. When you become specific with me, fear, snorts, begins to lose its authority. Not because the issue disappears instantly, but because it no longer hides in the dark. The light of honesty dismantles the exaggerations that anxiety has constructed in your mind. You will discover that many things you once believed were too large are not beyond my power at all. And many things you thought were too small have been noticed by me for a very long time. Scripture speaks plainly without embellishment. Yet with the weight of truth you do not have because you do not ask. James 4 verse 92. Not because you asked incorrectly. Not because your prayer was not spiritual enough, but because you did not ask at all, because you did not name it, did not place it on the table, did not dare to voice what truly needed to be touched. I say this not to accuse you, but to free you from the habit of silence born of fear. My beloved child, in this season of restoration, I am teaching you a new way of praying. Not longer, but deeper, not more beautiful, but more real. Mature faith does not avoid details. Mature faith brings the details before me and says, I cannot resolve this on my own. And I no longer wish to pretend that I am fine. It is precisely there that my intervention becomes clear, tangible, and recognizable. So take hold of this key, my beloved child. Do not hold it with the fear of rejection. Use it with honesty. Name what needs restoration. Identify where you need me to intervene. Speak the reality that is draining you. And then remain not in anxiety but in trust that once you have spoken truthfully I will act in the right place at the right time in the right way. My beloved child, now I want you to know what is truly taking place behind the curtain where your eyes cannot see and your reasoning cannot reach yet, where every movement determines what will be revealed in your life. When you read these words and respond with your heart, not with fleeting curiosity, what seemed invisible begins to shift direction. Schemes designed to make you hesitate are being neutralized, not with noise, but with quiet authority. Intentions meant to delay you are losing their hold. Plans that are not of me are being dismantled layer by layer like threads being cut from a loom. The delays you once labeled as bad luck, poor timing, or misfortune are being lifted. I know you have grown accustomed to the feeling of being stuck, unable to move forward, unable to turn back, as though an unseen force were holding you in place. But my beloved child, that force no longer has the authority it once did. Not because you have done everything right, but because my appointed time has arrived. When I touch timing, what was prolonged begins to move. What was withheld begins to open. Doors that were once tightly shut, places you knocked on with all your hope and then left in silence, are being given keys. You do not need to return and knock in the old way. You do not need to prove yourself or persuade anyone. When a key is given, the door opens from within. And when I open a door, no one can shut it. What you once believed was not meant for you will be revealed as a path prepared in advance, waiting only for the right season for you to step into it. Resources that were once withheld, not only money but information, people, support, and even clarity, are being released. You will not recognize this through an overwhelming flood, but through very real movements, a conversation that opens, an opportunity that appears at the right moment, an idea that comes with enough clarity for you to act. I do not release these things for you to spend in panic. I release them for you to steward with the wisdom you have learned through seasons of lack. In the spiritual realm, restoration has already begun. This is no longer a suspended promise. It is an active process. But my beloved child, I want you to understand a crucial truth, one that many overlook and therefore lose what they have waited for. There is always a gap between spiritual release and physical manifestation. That gap is not failure. It is the threshold of transformation. And it is at this threshold that many give up, turn back, or unknowingly sabotage the very breakthrough that was meant to emerge in this in-between space. You are no longer being attacked as before. Yet you have not fully seen the outcome either. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission will grow into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Giving to this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-fi community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through hearts that are kind. This is what I say over you now. Each gift you give is like a stream of living water that flows into the life of someone who needs healing. Give and it will be given to you is not just a verse for Jesus. It is a living promise that shapes your future. Allow me to invite you now with a simple act of faith. Come into this moment with purpose, with honesty, and with hope. The money you give today is not a donation. The act of spiritual obedience that lets your heavens open is what opens them. Let go of your seed and see what God brings back into your life. The old pressures have eased, but the new signs have not appeared in their fullness. This is the moment when confusion most easily arises. You begin to wonder if I have been set free. Why don't I see anything yet? You start questioning what I have spoken. You look for evidence instead of remaining in trust. And it is precisely here that many people lose their breakthrough. Not because it was never released, but because they did not stand firm long enough to see it manifest. My beloved child, this space requires a different kind of faith. Not the faith of crisis, but the faith of stability. When you were in lack, your faith sounded like a cry for help. But when freedom has already taken place in the unseen realm, your faith must become a quiet steadiness, not loud, not frantic, not running everywhere in search of confirmation. Simply remaining, taking one small step at a time and guarding your heart from old reactions. It is in this space that old habits will come knocking again. Old fears will whisper. Nothing has really changed. Survival thinking will invite you back into a way of living marked by strained defense and self-control. But my beloved child, if you return to old ways in a new season, you will lock yourself out of what I am opening. Not because I have withdrawn what I have given, but because you are standing at an old address while the blessing is being delivered to a new one. I am inviting you to do something very specific in this in-between space. Do not act as though you are still trapped. Do not speak like someone without hope. Do not make decisions from the fear of lack anymore. Do not shrink back as if you are still surrounded. Adjust your words, your rhythm of life, and your choices to align with the new truth that in the spiritual realm. Restoration has already begun. You do not need to pretend everything is perfect. You only need to stop living as though nothing will ever change. There is a scripture that is especially vital for this season. A word that speaks directly into the space where you are standing. For we walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5 verse 7. This does not mean denying reality. It means refusing to let temporary reality define the final outcome. Your eyes may not yet see, but that does not have the authority to negate what I have already accomplished in the unseen. Mature faith does not shout when it cannot see. It moves forward calmly and continues to walk. My beloved child, this space is also where I refine your motives. When the blessing has not yet manifested, you will discover whether you are seeking me or merely seeking results. I do not say this to test you harshly, but to protect you because what I am bringing carries weight. If it arrives before the foundation is strong enough, you will drop it. This space does not slow you down. It stabilizes you. Understand this deeply. If you are in the in-between, it does not mean you have missed it. On the contrary, it is a sign that you are very close. Breakthrough rarely comes out of chaos. It comes after alignment. And alignment often happens in silence where emotions are no longer intense. But faithfulness in small things is learned. My beloved child, I am not asking you to strain in this space. I am simply inviting you to remain. Remain in my presence. Remain in the word I have spoken. Remain in a rhythm of life no longer driven by panic. When you remain, you allow time to do its part. And when time completes what I have entrusted to it, the manifestation in the physical realm will come clearly, tangibly, and undeniably. So do not retreat. Do not turn back. Do not sabotage yourself by living as though everything is still locked. The schemes have been dismantled. The delays have been lifted. The keys have been placed in your hands. The resources have been released. And though you are standing in the in-between, you are not standing alone. I am here going before you, standing beside you and guarding every step. So that when restoration manifests, you will not only receive it, but also be able to keep it. My beloved child, I want you to remain just a little longer in this very special space. Not a space of weary waiting, but a space of formation. Because when restoration has already been set in motion in the spiritual realm, what I am doing next is no longer release, but preparation, preparing you to sustain what has been released. Many lose their breakthrough. Not because it was never given, but because they were not ready to live in the new reality that the blessing requires. I do not want that for you. In this space, I am doing a quiet but profound work. I am re-establishing how you see yourself. If you continue to view yourself through the lens of former seasons, seasons of lack, seasons of being overlooked, seasons of constant striving, then even when abundance arrives, you will handle it with fear. You will cling too tightly or spend too quickly or doubt that it will stay. That is why before I allow the new to fully manifest, I am teaching you how to be at rest with insufficiency. Something you were never taught before. My beloved child, let me say this plainly. The peace you are beginning to feel, even if it seems fragile, is the sign that the transition has already taken place. When the real battle ends in the unseen realm, your soul no longer lives in a constant state of alarm. You no longer react as intensely as before. You are no longer triggered by what once terrified you. This is not indifference. It is a new stability. And it is within this stability that I am planting seeds that will grow into wise decisions, healthy relationships, and mature stewardship. This space is also where I gently test your trust. Not by taking things away, but by not bringing everything at once. I watch to see whether when you cannot yet see it all, you return to what I have spoken. Whether you continue to walk as one who has been set free, or whether you revert to speaking, thinking, and choosing like someone who is still trapped. My beloved child, faith in this season does not need to be loud. It only needs to be consistent. I know there are moments when you ask yourself, if everything has already shifted in the spiritual realm, why does reality still carry traces of the old? Listen to me carefully. The physical realm is always the last to arrive. It is the final layer to be touched. And when that final layer has not yet fully formed, it does not mean the earlier layers have not been addressed. On the contrary, it is precisely because the deeper layers have been reordered, that the surface has begun to move. You are living in an in-between season, a place where the old has not completely departed, yet the new has already begun to breathe. In this season, I am calling you to guard your inner life more intentionally than ever before. Not by shutting yourself down, but by choosing wisely. Choose what you listen to. Choose what you believe. Choose which voices are allowed to shape how you see the future. When a new season is forming, old voices, even from people who do not understand your journey, can pull you back toward a false sense of safety. I'm not saying they are wrong or unkind. I am saying they are not standing in the same moment you are. My beloved, I am also redefining patience within you. Patience is no longer about gritting your teeth and enduring. Patience now is directed trust. Knowing that each passing day is moving you closer, not holding you in place. When you practice patience this way, you are not worn down. You are built up. You learn to do well what is in front of you without being consumed by what has not yet arrived. And it is this very posture that creates momentum for manifestation. I want you to understand something deeply important. Not every door opens at the same time. Some doors open first so you can learn how to step through. Others open later so you are not overwhelmed. If you measure your progress against someone else's timeline, you will miss your own rhythm. But if you walk in alignment with me, you will recognize that the order in which doors open is itself a form of protection. My beloved, when manifestation in the physical realm begins to appear, and it will appear, you will need a heart that has been trained not to retreat into old fears. You will need humility to receive without pride and freedom, to give without fear of running out. I am training you for this even now in this space between where the pressure has eased but the full reward has not yet arrived. This is the training ground for those who are about to step into expansion. There is a verse I want to press more deeply into your heart in this season. Whoever is faithful in very little is also faithful in much. Luke 16 verse 10. Your faithfulness today in your thoughts, in your words, in small choices is creating space for greater things to enter without throwing you off balance. I am not looking for perfection. I am looking for gentle consistency, a heart that no longer startles at the thought of the future. My beloved, if at times you feel as though you are standing between two worlds, one that is fading and another that has not yet fully taken shape, know that this is the mark of a true transition. Major transitions are rarely loud. They are usually quiet, deep, and profoundly personal. And I am very near to you in every one of these moments. Even when you do not always feel my presence, keep walking forward. There is no need to run, no need to turn back, no need to prove anything. Simply walk with me. I am finishing what I began. What has been released in the spiritual realm will be revealed in the physical without lack, without delay, and without missing its destination. And when that moment comes, you will look back on this in between space, not with regret, but with deep gratitude. Because it was here that you became the kind of person who could carry the blessing. My beloved, as you continue to walk through this overlapping season, I want you to understand that what I am doing is not only about what you will receive, but about who you are becoming when it arrives. I do not give blessings the way one scatters seed into the wind. I sow with intention. I see the full picture. Not only the moment a door opens, but the years that follow. And because I see farther, I choose to stay with you longer in this season of preparation. There will be days when everything feels still. No new news, no clear signs, no obvious turning point. On those days it is easy to wonder, did I misunderstand? But my beloved, this quiet is not stagnation, it is stability. Just as the ground needs time to settle after being plowed before a seed can take root. Your soul needs this stillness, so the new can anchor deeply without being uprooted by old winds. During this time, I am gently removing a very subtle habit from you. The habit of measuring the value of today by visible results. You have grown used to calling a day meaningful when there is clear progress, immediate feedback or tangible outcomes. But I am teaching you a deeper way of living where the value of a day is found in inner alignment, not outward business. When you learn this, you will no longer panic on slow days nor exalt yourself on fast ones. You will stand steady in both. I am also healing the way you respond to waiting. In the past, waiting made you anxious, self-critical, or driven to regain control. But now, I am inviting you into a different kind of waiting. A waiting that holds my presence. Not waiting in tension, but waiting in connection. Not waiting simply for time to pass, but waiting for your heart to be realigned. When you wait in this way, time is no longer your enemy. It becomes your ally. My beloved, there is something very important I want you to recognize. In this season, you no longer have to prove that you are worthy. The season of self-defense has ended. The season of persuading others and at times persuading yourself that you are good enough, persistent enough, faithful enough. That season has passed. What I am doing now is not based on how well you perform but on covenant. And covenant is not sustained by achievement but by relationship. That is why I am leading you into small yet very real situations where you have the opportunity to choose trust instead of control, honesty instead of hiding, rest instead of strain. These choices may not draw attention, but they are rewriting the way you live. And when the way you live is rewritten, the reality around you will gradually have to adjust to align with it. My beloved, let me speak to you about the new people I am preparing to bring into your life. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our COI community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself. Jesus says, this is not history. It is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. They will not arrive with noise or display. They will come so naturally that you might almost miss them if you are still viewing life through old eyes. These are not relationships built on need or mutual rescue, but relationships rooted in resonance. They do not come to fill a void, but to expand space alongside you and to recognize them. You will need a heart that has been quieted. A heart no longer searching for validation, but able to discern alignment in this space. I am also teaching you how to keep silence in the right places. Not silence born of fear, but silence born of wisdom. There are things I am doing within you that do not yet need explanation. There are transitions that do not yet need announcement. When you learn to guard what is still forming, you protect it from immature opinions, unintentional doubt, and misplaced expectations. This silence does not isolate you. It shelters you, my beloved. When clarity of revelation begins to emerge, and it will, you will need something. I am building within you right now the ability not to look back with regret. I do not want you to step into a new season while still being pulled backward by what-if questions. This space is helping you truly close chapters, not by forgetting, but by understanding. When you understand why the old no longer fits, you will no longer desire to return, even if the door were to open again. There will be moments when you realize you have changed more than you thought. Things that once triggered you no longer hold power. Words that once unsettled you now simply pass by. Fears that once dominated have become distant echoes. Do not dismiss these changes. They are evidence that restoration is not merely coming. It is already happening. I want to remind you of a scripture that is especially fitting for this deep season. He works all things together for the good of those who love him. Romans 8 verse 28. Not some things, but all things. Even the waiting spaces, even the unclear days. Even the in-between seasons that leave you feeling suspended. All of it is being woven together. Not chaotically, not randomly, but according to a loving order. My beloved, continue to live each day with presence. Do not try to live ahead of the moment. Do not pull the future forward to calm the present. I am with you in today. And it is here that I am laying the final stones for what is about to be revealed. When the structure is complete, you will not need to explain why it stands firm. It will speak for itself. And if there are moments when you feel weary, remember that you do not need to be strong to move forward. You only need to remain. Remain in the truth that I have begun the work. Remain in the trust that I do not abandon what I start. Remain in the breath of today where you are loved not for what you will do but because you belong to me. You are very close, my beloved. Not close in the sense of ending but close in the sense of unveiling. And when that day comes, you will not only see the blessing with your eyes, but you will recognize that you yourself, your inner being, have become soiled deep enough for that blessing to remain. My beloved, I want you to slow down one more step. Not because I wish to delay you, but because I am sharpening you. There are seasons when I heal, seasons when I restore, and seasons when I refine. This season is not loud, not performative, not in need of applause. It unfolds deep within where old questions no longer panic. You yet have not fully disappeared. It is here that I am separating you from dependence on fleeting emotions so that you may step into a life guided by steady conviction. I know there are moments when you feel as though you are walking through mist, not dark enough to fall into despair, yet not bright enough to see clearly. You long for a decisive sign, a sudden turning on of the light, so that everything becomes obvious at once. But my beloved child, if I were to give you full light too soon, you would walk by sight rather than by the faith that has been refined within you. What I am forming in you is not the ability to react quickly, but the capacity to stand firm even when nothing is yet visible. In this season, I am dismantling a very subtle illusion. The belief that you must understand everything before you can move forward. You have grown accustomed to living by analysis, measurement, projection, and control. These skills once helped you survive. But now they are beginning to limit you. Not because they are wrong, but because they are insufficient for where I am leading you. You cannot analyze my path using an old map. You can only follow me step by step, trusting that every step has a purpose, even when that purpose has not yet been revealed. My beloved, let me say this clearly and sharply. What is exhausting you is not your circumstances, but the inner tension within you. One part of you already knows that the old season is closed. Yet another part still clings to what is familiar because it offers a sense of safety even as it drains you. Your weariness comes from standing between two worlds without fully belonging to either. And I am here to help you choose decisively, not through force but through clarity. I am also cutting away a habit you have carried quietly. Self-pity held in silence. Not because you are forbidden to grieve, but because that sorrow has begun to shape your identity. You have grown used to telling your story from a place of lack of opportunity, lack of support, lack of fairness. But my beloved, if you continue to speak that story, you will enter a season of abundance using the language of scarcity. That language will distort how you receive, how you steward, and how you give. I am not erasing your memories. I am redefining their meaning. In this in-between space, I am doing something very powerful that few recognize. I am repositioning the center of power in your life. Before power rested in circumstances, they dictated your moods. Power rested in other people's responses. They defined the value you assigned yourself. Power rested in outcomes. They determined whether you had peace or not. But now I am drawing that power back to its rightful place. The relationship between you and me. When the center of power is restored, circumstances lose their ability to manipulate you. My beloved, there will be days when you realize you no longer react as you once did. Things that used to provoke rebellion or withdrawal now simply cause you to pause and discern. Do not confuse this calm with coldness. This is disciplined strength. You are learning not to grant every stimulus the authority to command your actions. And when you are no longer pulled in every direction by every wind, you become a person of weight. Someone whose very presence creates stability. I am also teaching you how to face emptiness without rushing to fill it. In the past, whenever a gap appeared, you hurried to fill it with work, relationships, plans, or worry. But this emptiness is not a lack. It is sacred space where I desire to speak to you. Things that cannot be spoken when you are still noisy inside. If you fill it too quickly, you will miss the subtle guidance being formed there. My beloved, hear this clearly. I am not rushing you, not because I am slow, but because I am precise. Everything I am doing has a rhythm aligned with your inner growth. If I were to give you more before you are ready, it would not become a blessing. It would become pressure. I am not concerned with how quickly you arrive. I care about whether once you arrive, you can remain there without losing yourself. There is a scripture I want to place into this sharp season. Like a sword that divides what is true from what is false. Within you, I have refined you, but not as silver, I have chosen you in the furnace of affliction. Isaiah 48 verse 10. The furnace is not meant to destroy. It is meant to purify. What is burned away is not who you are, but the impurities that clung to you during seasons of survival. When the fire recedes, you are not weaker. You are purer, my beloved. As you draw nearer to the time of unveiling, I will not only open doors outwardly, I will position you rightly inwardly. You will not step into the new season with the posture of one who begs, but with the stance of one who has been entrusted. You will not hold what is given through fear of loss, but through responsibility that accompanies grace. And this is what will cause others to recognize that what is unfolding in your life is not momentary luck but the result of a deep, long, and intentional process. If at times you feel that I am quieter than before, remember this. My silence is not absence. It is a sign that I am working at a deeper level than words. There are things that can only be communicated through steady presence, not constant instruction. And as you learn to discern that presence, you will no longer panic when answers do not come immediately. You will know that I am very near. Keep going, my beloved. You do not need to be certain about everything. You do not need to be strong at all times. You only need to remain honest, awake, and willing to be led. I am shaping you into someone who can stand firm in the day of unveiling, someone not led astray by blessing and not shaken by challenge. Beloved child, there is something I want you to understand more deeply as you continue walking through this season. The slowness you are experiencing is not a sign of stagnation but evidence of very careful care. I am working with layers within you that are exceedingly subtle layers that if not touched at the right time and in the right way would quietly govern your decisions in the future. I am not merely preparing a destination for you. I am preparing your capacity to carry what is coming without being distorted by it. You once thought that readiness meant the absence of doubt. But beloved child, true readiness is not the disappearance of doubt. It is the ability to move forward without allowing doubt to paralyze you. I am teaching you to discern between the voice of wisdom and the noise of fear. At times they sound remarkably similar, but their outcomes are entirely different. Wisdom leads you into peaceful caution. Fear leads you into tense delay. As you learn to recognize this difference, you will no longer reproach yourself for moments of pause. You will know when to wait and when to step forward. There are mornings when you wake with the sense that everything is still the same. No clear turning point, no major news, no dramatic sign. Yet I want you to know that in those ordinary days, I am laying the foundation for new responses within you. Before you reacted quickly because you feared missing out. Now you are beginning to respond more slowly because you are no longer living from a place of lack. This difference may seem small from the outside, but it marks a significant shift in your inner structure. You are no longer driven by the feeling that you must do something immediately in order to feel valuable. Beloved child, I am also touching the way you see yourself when no one else is watching. In moments of solitude, you may ask, who am I? Without achievements, without recognition, without familiar roles. Before this question unsettled you, now I am present with you inside that very question. I am helping you discover that your worth does not begin with what you contribute, but with your existence in relationship with me. When this truth is deeply rooted, you will no longer work to prove yourself, but to express who you truly are. There may be times when you notice yourself speaking less than before, explaining less, defending less, arguing less. Do not be concerned. This is not withdrawal. It is discernment. You are learning to reserve your energy for what genuinely requires your presence. When you no longer feel compelled to explain yourself to every gaze, you become freer to listen for the true calling. And within that listening, I am planting wordless guidance within you. intuitions refined through long faithfulness. Beloved child, there may be those who do not understand this change in you. They were accustomed to someone always willing to carry the load, always with an answer, always available to soothe the others even when you yourself were depleted. As you begin to live from this new center, they may feel unsteady. Remember this, you are not called to keep everyone comfortable. You are called to live truthfully. And when you live truthfully, the right relationships will adjust themselves. You are about to enter your divine future. Remember that this message does not end with you. People can use your breakthrough to get where they need to go. Through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community, you can help this mission. By doing so, you are sowing into the awakening, deliverance, and restoration of souls who are still trapped in darkness. This is not poetry. When Jesus says, "Give, and heaven will open over you," every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and safety for your family. Now is your time, my child. Have faith, and as you do, watch God multiply what you let go of. Some will deepen. Some will gently drift away without resentment. I also want you to know that your sensitivity is not a weakness to be hidden. In my hands, sensitivity refined becomes a remarkably sharp capacity for discernment. You perceive what others overlook. Subtle shifts in the atmosphere, slight misalignments in words, faint signals within decisions. Before this overwhelmed you. Now I am teaching you to anchor that sensitivity and steadiness so that it does not pull you off course but serves you. You may begin to notice that old dreams are being adjusted, not taken away, but reordered. Some things you once wanted at any cost. You can now release without the pain you once felt. This is not because you no longer desire. It is because your desire has matured. You no longer want merely to obtain. You want to sustain without losing peace. And this is the mark of the inner maturity. I have been patiently building within you. Beloved child, when I say that you are very close, I want you to understand another layer of that meaning. You are closer to yourself than you have ever been. Closer to the person I saw from the beginning, undistorted by fear, unfragmented by expectations, unpooled by comparison. When you meet yourself again at this deeper level, you will no longer chase invitations that are not aligned. You will recognize them at the very first sensation, not through judgment, but through the absence of resonance. There will be moments when you are invited to step forward, not to put yourself on display, but to place your presence in the space where it truly belongs. When that happens, you will discover that you do not need to change your voice, add embellishments, or make yourself appear larger than you are. A presence refined in silence carries its own authority. Others will sense it even if they cannot name it. And you will know that you are in the right place. Not because everything feels easy, but because you no longer have to abandon yourself in order to remain there. If at times you notice a peace settling in you that feels almost unfamiliar, a peace not dependent on circumstances, know that this is a sign the foundation has been completed. From that foundation, I can build without fear of collapse. And as new things begin to appear gradually in very ordinary ways, you will realize that you are no longer trembling as you once did. You will receive them with clarity, gratitude, and a sense of responsibility. Continue living each day as you are doing now. My beloved child, there is no need to search for a grand moment. The grand moment will find you when you are ready. For now, cherish each small step, each subtle adjustment. Each time you choose to remain with the truth instead of running from it. I am here in your breathing, in your silence, in every unseen choice you make. And when the day of unveiling arrives, you will know this. Nothing in this journey has been wasted. Everything has contributed to shaping a person who can stand firm, love well, and steward what I entrust. My beloved child, I want you to remain a little longer in this deeper layer. For there are things that can only be recognized when you are no longer rushing to reach a conclusion. A quiet ripening is taking place, not of circumstances, but of perception. You are beginning to see that things are no longer as fragmented as before. Joy no longer depends entirely on outcomes. Sorrow no longer demands immediate resolution. And questions no longer require instant answers for you to keep moving forward. This is the sign of an inner life coming into unity. When the scattered parts within you begin to speak the same language, you are no longer pulled back and forth by opposing impulses. My beloved child, I am also teaching you to honor the rhythm of rest. Not rest born of exhaustion, but rest born of trust. In the past, you only allowed yourself to stop when you had nothing left. Now you are learning to stop while you still have strength because you trust that I am working even when you are not doing anything at all. This rest is not an escape from responsibility. It is a very tangible act of faith. In that rest you give me the space to complete what you cannot finish through effort alone. And it is there that worries which once took deep root begin to lose the nourishment they need to survive. There will be days when you realize you are no longer trying to read every signal from the outside. You are no longer scanning to see what others think, what they expect, who is disappointed or pleased. Not because you have become indifferent, but because you have found a more stable center. When that center is secure, you can listen to others without being defined by them. You can receive feedback without letting it disturb your identity. And you can say no without carrying guilt because your no is born of honesty, not of fear. My beloved child, a new kind of freedom is touching you. Freedom from having to understand yourself through the eyes of others. This freedom is not loud. It is very simple. It shows itself in the fact that you no longer need to edit your story to fit, exaggerate your pain to be loved, or magnify your dreams to be believed. You only need to speak the truth at its proper scale. And when truth is spoken without addition or subtraction, it carries a weight of its own. The weight of what is genuine. I know there are old memories that still knock from time to time. Memories of moments when you hoped and were disappointed, opened your heart and were misunderstood, trusted, and were left behind. Do not panic when they appear. Their return does not mean you are moving backward. It is an opportunity to respond in a new way. Before memories pulled you back into the past, now you can view them from a safe distance. Place them in the light and let them leave without a fight when you no longer battle your memories. They lose their power to govern the present. My beloved child, I am also training you in a different kind of courage. The courage to remain with what is unclear. This courage does not explode. It endures. It does not need an audience. It only requires faithfulness. When you stay with what is unclear, you learn to distinguish between uncertainty and danger. Not everything that is unclear is a threat. Some things are simply not yet ready to be revealed. And wisdom lies in knowing how to wait without freezing, how to move without rushing. There will be decisions in this season that appear very small, choices about pace, about boundaries, about where you place your attention. But I tell you this, these small choices are shaping much larger outcomes ahead. You do not need a dramatic leap to change your trajectory. You need consistency in the things no one applauds. When you are faithful in the small, the large will come to you without overwhelming you. My beloved child, I am teaching you a new language of prayer. Not prayer filled with many words, but prayer expressed through inner agreement. There are moments when all you need to do is exhale and say, I am here. And in that simple acknowledgement, I hear a trust deeper than 1,000 phrases. When you pray in this way, you are not trying to change me. You are allowing me to change you. And that change happens very gently, but very truly. You may come to realize that the doors I open for you in the coming season will not require you to knock with force. They open because you belong there, not because you strive. This alignment does not come from becoming perfect. It comes from becoming whole. When there is no longer division within you, the outer world finds its point of meeting. And when you walk through those doors, you will not need to prove that you deserve to be there because the peace that walks with you is evidence enough. My beloved child, prepare your heart for a beautiful paradox. When you release control, you steward more wisely. When you speak less, your words are heard more clearly. When you stop trying to be seen, your presence becomes unmistakable. This is not a temporary miracle. It is a new order being established. This order places presence above performance, truth above image, and relationship above achievement. If at times you ask yourself, so what is truly coming? Know that the first thing arriving is your own steadiness. From that steadiness, everything else will find a place to anchor. Blessings no longer pass through you. They remain. Opportunities no longer scatter your attention. They are stewarded. Challenges no longer collapse you. They are faced. This is the mature life I am leading you into. A life that does not need to be loud to be influential. My beloved child, when I look at you now, I see someone who has learned how to stay. Stay with truth. Stay with presence. Stay with the right pace. This is more precious than any skill you could acquire. For when you stay, I have room to complete my work. And when I complete it, you do not need to chase after it to catch up. You only need to walk alongside me. Continue in this way. Let each day do its part. Let me hold mine. You are not forgotten in this slowness. You are being cared for very closely. And when you lift your head in a time of unveiling, you will realize that the greatest thing is not only what I have done for you, but who you have become throughout this journey. A person who can carry light without glare, carry strength without hardness, and carry grace without losing truth. My beloved child, I want you to notice something very subtle that is happening within you right now. You are no longer impatient to become someone. Before, even when you said you trusted me, there was still a quiet pull inside, urging you to define yourself quickly, to know who you are, where you stand, where you are going, and how you will be named. But now that pull is weakening, not because you are lost but because you have stopped forcing yourself into a frame. I am freeing you from the pressure to complete yourself through concepts so that you may be completed through life itself. My beloved child, this is a deep maturity that not everyone passes through. Many people find a role and remain there their entire lives. Not because that is where I called them to stay, but because they fear the emptiness of unnamed seasons. You are different. You have dared to remain in the unformed space where titles are unclear, where you cannot use labels to sue yourself. And it is here that I am planting in you an identity that cannot be shaken by external change. When that identity ripens, you will not need to defend it. It will stand on its own. I know there are moments when you feel like you have less than others, less achievement, less visibility, less affirmation. But my beloved child, let me say this to you slowly and clearly. I do not measure maturity by the height of what you achieve, but by the depth of what you can carry. There are those who stand very high yet are hollow within. They must constantly be fed by applause. You are being dug deeper. And what is dug deep does not rush to display itself. It waits until it can bear real weight. In this season, I am also teaching you to discern between healthy silence and subtle avoidance. There are days when you choose silence because you do not need to speak. That is maturity. But there are also moments when you want silence because you are afraid to face something. That is where I gently invite you to step forward. I do not push you to confront these things by your own strength. I am with you in each very small step of honesty. When you dare to speak what you fear, it begins to lose its power. When you dare to look directly at what you avoid, it no longer controls you from behind. My beloved child, I am training you to become someone who does not need to live in defense mode before you learn to protect yourself very well through reason, through distance, through intense self-control. Those things were once necessary. But now if you continue to live behind that defense, you will not be able to fully receive what I am sending to you. Defense keeps you safe. Trust opens you. And I am not calling you into this season merely to be safe. I am calling you to live fully. You may begin to notice that your joy is changing its shape. It no longer comes from peaks, from explosive moments, from the feeling of finally it's my turn. This new joy is quieter, deeper, and far less dependent. It shows up in very ordinary things. An unhurried morning. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission will grow into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Giving to this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our COI community does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through hearts that are kind. This is what I say over you now. Each gift you give is like a stream of living water that flows into the life of someone who needs healing. Give and it will be given to you. Is not just a verse for Jesus. It is a living promise that shapes your future. Allow me to invite you now with a simple act of faith. Come into this moment with purpose, with honesty, and with hope. The money you give today is not a donation. The act of spiritual obedience that lets your heavens open is what opens them. Let go of your seed and see what God brings back into your life. A decision made without inner conflict. A relationship that doesn't require performance. This is not a lesser joy. It is a rooted joy. And what has roots does not need constant stimulation in order to survive. My beloved child, I also want you to know that no longer being pulled into every argument, both external and internal, is a sign of wisdom taking form within you. You do not need to be right in every situation. You do not need to explain yourself to everyone. You do not need to win every conversation in your own mind. When you stop arguing with yourself about who you should have been, you begin to live from a place of healthy acceptance. And from that place, change happens naturally without force. In the days ahead, you may be invited into new spaces of greater responsibility, clearer influence, and entrusted confidence. When that happens, I want you to remember that you do not need to carry old images of leadership or influence with you. You are not called to control. You are called to hold rhythm. You are not called to make everything perfect. You are called to keep everything honest. The leadership I am forming in you is not built on imposed authority but on steady presence. My beloved child, I know you once feared that if you did not try hard enough, everything would pass you by. But look again. The most important things in your life did not come because you chased them. They came because you were ready. And this readiness was not outward preparation, but an inward reordering. When there is order within you, what truly belongs with you will come without being pulled. I also want you to release a very old fear. The fear that if you slow down, you will fall behind. My beloved, you do not fall behind when you move at the right pace. You only fall behind when you lose yourself trying to keep up with someone else's rhythm. My rhythm for you is not the fastest, but it is the most sustainable. It allows you to go far without exhaustion, to go deep without losing your way. If at times you feel emptier than before, less drama, fewer highs, do not be quick to assume that something has been lost. It is very possible that I am making room. I cannot place what is new on top of a space crowded with things that no longer fit. This emptiness is not absence. It is preparation. And you do not need to fill it. You only need to keep it clean. My beloved child, I want you to continue practicing something very simple yet very deep. Whenever you are unsure, return to what you know for certain: I am here. Not that I will be here. Not that I once was here, but that I am here now. This presence does not change with your emotions. Does not waver with circumstances. Does not withdraw when you are tired. When you anchor yourself in this certainty, you will not be swept away by what is still unclear. Keep walking, my beloved. There is no need to rush, no need to prove anything, no need to finish everything all at once. I see every small choice you are making. Choices no one applauds, no one records. Yet they are shaping a person of depth, of weight, and of capacity to hold great things without losing gentleness. And it is this person more than any circumstance that I rejoice to form within you, my beloved child. I want you to recognize another movement, very subtle yet very real. You are learning to trust the life flowing within you, not just the signs outside you. Before you often needed confirmation, a word, a result, a response to feel assured that you were on the right path. But now I am leading you into a deeper layer where you can recognize rightness through inner alignment. When what you do, say, or choose no longer makes you shrink or defend yourself, that is a sign you are walking with me. Even if nothing outward has clearly changed yet, my beloved child, I know there are moments when you ask, what about the promises? You are not doubting me. You are learning to ask from a more mature place. Before you asked out of fear of losing, now you ask out of a desire to understand rightly. I do not reproach those questions. I receive them, but I want you to know that my promises are not anchored to a specific moment in time. They are anchored to the formation of who you are becoming. When you have become someone who can carry that promise without being thrown out of rhythm by it, I will reveal it at the right time, neither too early nor too late. My beloved child, I am also teaching you something very important about fullness. True fullness does not make you rush. When you live from a place of lack, everything feels urgent. You must grasp, must hold on, must achieve, must protect. But when you live from fullness, you can choose without panic. You can let go without regret. You can wait without hardening your heart. This fullness does not come from having more. It comes from no longer being afraid that you will have nothing. You may begin to notice that old reflexes are weakening. Before, when something did not go your way, you would immediately try to fix it, explain it, or withdraw from it. Now you can stay with the feeling a little longer without rushing to react. That moment of staying is very important. It is precisely there that you allow me to step in between stimulus and response. And when I have space there, you are no longer automatically driven by whatever confronts you. My beloved child, I am also teaching you to recognize guidance not by pressure but by lightness. What I invite you into will not require you to betray your core values. It may challenge you, but it will not distort you. It may require you to grow, but it will not require you to shrink yourself. If a path continually demands that you silence healthy intuition in order to keep going, that path is not mine, no matter how attractive it appears. My beloved child, let me speak further about the silence you are experiencing. There are seasons when I speak less, not because I have nothing to say, but because I am allowing what I have already spoken to sink in deeply. Words that have not yet taken root need repetition. But when words begin to become flesh, becoming lived response and embodied truth, I can be silent without fear that you will lose your way. This silence is a form of trust one extend to you. Trust that you are mature enough to walk without constant instruction. My beloved child, in this season, you are also being healed of a very old fear. The fear that if you do not keep everything under control, everything will collapse. I want you to look back and see that some things you once tried to control tightly still ended up leaving. And some things you released in trust remained and endured. Control does not create sustainability. Truth and alignment do. There will be moments when you feel that you are no longer on fire as before, less driven, less hungry in loud and obvious ways. Do not be afraid of this. The fire I am kindling in you now is not a flare, but embers. Embers are not dazzling, but they hold heat for a very long time. They can warm an entire night, and when needed, they can ignite a great fire without much effort. I prefer working with embers rather than fireworks. My beloved child, I am also teaching you to enter new relationships from a different place. No longer from the need to be compensated, no longer from the fear of being abandoned. No longer from the longing to be chosen. You are beginning to step in from freedom. When you do not need another person to complete you, you can love in a healthy way. When you do not need someone to confirm your worth, you can connect without losing yourself. And it is this very freedom that allows the right relationships to recognize you quickly. My beloved child, if there are moments when you feel that you are no longer the same, smile. You were never called to remain an old version of yourself forever. You were called to be alive, to mature, to be renewed from glory to glory. The fact that you no longer react as before, no longer dream as before, no longer worry as before is evidence that you have crossed a very important inner threshold. Do not go back just for the sake of familiarity. Stay where you are and grow. I also want you to know that the new sensitivity you carry, the ability to sense what is timely and what is not yet, is a great grace. It will spare you many unnecessary cycles. You no longer have to learn by stumbling. You can recognize by a quiet peace or a subtle unrest. Cherish this gift. Do not ignore it simply because others do not understand. My beloved child, I am leading you into a life where you no longer have to constantly remind yourself to trust. Trust becomes a natural state. Like breathing, you do not force yourself to breathe. You simply breathe. When you live from this place, even unresolved matters will not make you panic. You can say, I do not see yet, but I know I am not alone. And that is enough for you to live this day fully. Remember this. I'm not only working to change the story of your life. I'm changing the way you read that story. When the way you read changes, the same circumstances take on a different meaning. You no longer see everything through the lens of lack or defense, but through the lens of companionship. And within that companionship, you do not need to be stronger than your capacity. You only need to be faithful to each step. Keep walking, my beloved child. There is no need to look for grand signs. There is no need to force yourself to feel anything in particular. Live fully with what is present. Keep your heart soft. Maintain healthy boundaries and remain gently awake. I am very near, not as one who watches from a distance, but as the one who walks in step with you. And when you look back, you will realize that these days that seemed ordinary were in fact laying the foundation for beautiful things you never had to strain to achieve. My beloved child, I want to lead you one more deep circle around the very experience you are living now. Because some things only reveal themselves when you stop trying to move forward and are willing to remain. Remaining is not stagnation. Remaining allows the process to soak into every fiber of who you are. There are seasons when you move by footsteps and seasons when you move by stillness. In this season, I am letting you move by stillness so that each small choice becomes a healthy habit. Each healthy habit becomes a disposition, and each disposition becomes the foundation for what you will one day carry in your hands. My beloved child, I am teaching you to grow accustomed to the feeling of not needing to be pushed. Before you often relied on pressure to act, pressure of time, pressure of expectations, pressure of fear of falling behind. That pressure once made you quick, but it also made you rigid. Now I am teaching you how to act from the gentle pull of what is right, not from the force of fear pushing you away. When something truly belongs to you, you will feel a quiet attraction, unhurried, unforced, like the tide rising without the sound of a siren. My beloved child, I am also refining how you understand responsibility. Responsibility is no longer a burden you carry to prove your worth. It becomes the joy of tending what has been entrusted to you when you stop treating responsibility as a test of value. You will care for it with wisdom rather than anxiety. And what is cared for with wisdom will grow at the right pace, never exceeding the strength of the one who holds it. You may begin to notice that your attention is becoming more precious. You no longer scatter it everywhere. You are learning to place it where it nourishes rather than where it merely stimulates. This is a crucial shift. Attention is the current of the soul where you place it. Life flows. When you steward your attention, you are stewarding the very life energy I have entrusted to you. An energy that is well managed does not leak into endless fruitless striving. My beloved child, notice how you are now facing your mistakes. Before each misstep caused you to withdraw or condemn yourself for a long time. Now you can look directly at error without collapsing. You correct without punishing yourself. You learn without confining your identity. This is not leniency. This is maturity. A mature person does not deny fault. But neither do they let fault define them. And when you are no longer afraid of being wrong, you begin to do what is real. Things that carry healthy risk. Not things that are safe but empty. My beloved child, a new kind of confidence is forming within you. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself. Jesus says, this is not history. It is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. A confidence that does not need to perform. It does not come from speaking louder, but from not needing to speak much at all. It does not come from asserting yourself, but from having no need to diminish others. When this confidence matures, you will enter a room without taking up space. The space will quietly adjust around you. This is confidence born from inner alignment, not from outward victory. I am also teaching you to accept the imperfection of the process without losing patience. Some things you understand clearly with your mind but need time to become lived reflexes. Do not force that process. What is forced will fracture. What is nurtured will grow. I do not need you to be right quickly. I need you to be right enduringly. And this endurance is not loud, but it can withstand strong winds. My beloved child, pay attention to the very ordinary moments coming your way. Conversations without drama, repetitive tasks, afternoons with nothing remarkable to report. Do not dismiss them. It is in these moments that I am weaving faithfulness into the fabric of who you are. Those who live only on intensity will break when intensity passes. Those who live by faithfulness will remain standing when everything becomes ordinary. I am also removing from you a very old illusion that if you live more lightly, you will become less serious. No, my beloved child, lightness is not the opposite of depth. Lightness is what happens when you no longer carry what does not belong to you. When you are light, you hear more clearly. When you are light, you discern more quickly. When you are light, you can love without exhaustion. I do not call you into a heavy life to prove holiness. I call you into a free life to express life. My beloved child, you may find that you are no longer drawn into the big stories of others, the collective anxieties, the rushed judgments, the spreading panic. Not because you have withdrawn from the world, but because you have found your anchor. When you have an anchor, you do not have to chase every wave. You can be compassionate without panicking. You can be present without being swept away. And that presence, strangely enough, is exactly what the world is lacking. I want you to know that your wakefulness is not a burden you are meant to carry alone. I did not place you here for you to be isolated. I am connecting you with souls who recognize truth without needing noise. These connections are not rushed, not performative, but they are enduring. When the time comes, you will realize that you have never been walking alone. You simply have not been walking with the crowd. My beloved, I am teaching you how to receive praise without becoming dependent on it. And how to receive feedback without becoming defensive when you can listen to both with the same steady peaceful heartbeat. You are no longer pulled off center. Praise does not inflate you. Feedback does not deflate you. You stand firm in the middle where truth can reach you without wounding you. You may begin to notice that the rhythm of your life is becoming more even. No longer marked by sharp highs and lows. This does not make you dull. It makes you reliable. A reliable person is not one who is always explosive, but one who is consistently present. And this present steady, sincere is something I can build upon. My beloved, continue to keep your heart soft. But do not forget to keep your spine straight. Soft enough to listen, to empathize, to change, straight enough not to trade away truth, not to compromise with what diminishes you. These two are not in conflict, they need each other. When you are soft without being upright, you dissolve. When you are upright without being soft, you break. I am teaching you how to stand both soft and straight. That is the posture of maturity. If there are moments when you feel as though you are not there yet, smile again. You are not stuck. You are being placed correctly. Not every process needs to be visible to be valuable. Some things are taking root in the dark. And when they surface, you will be surprised by their strength. Do not dig them up to check. Water them with faithfulness each day. Continue living as you are living. My beloved, there is no need to add more, no need to take away. Simply be honest with what is present and courageous with what is approaching. I am here in the steady rhythms, in the quiet spaces, in the choices no one sees. And when you look back, you will understand it was the quiet creativity of this process that formed a person who can carry something great without being weighed down by it. Who can go far without losing gentleness and who can remain with the truth even when the winds change direction. My beloved, I want you to pay attention to a very deep shift that is taking place. One you may sense only as a feeling that everything is different. Even if you cannot clearly name what has changed before, you often lived in a state of constant preparation, preparing for events, for conversations, for the possibility of having to defend yourself. Now I am leading you into a life that does not require excessive preparation because you already carry a solid foundation within you. When the foundation is in place, you do not need to pitch a tent every time the wind changes. You simply adjust where you stand and keep breathing. My beloved, I am teaching you to trust in the consistency of what is good. You have lived long enough in unpredictable cycles to become accustomed to waiting for the bad to return. Even when things were calm, a part of you remained tense, as if peace were only a pause before the storm. In this season, I am healing that reflex. I want you to learn how to remain in what is good without holding your breath. Not every good thing is bait. Some good things are simply good and you are allowed to stay there without fear that they will be taken away immediately afterward. This healing does not come through grand declarations but through very small experiences. A day passes without incident and you no longer ask, so what will happen next? Joy appears and you do not rush to hide it. An opportunity arrives and you do not withdraw preemptively to avoid disappointment. Each time this happens, you are relearning how to trust. Not blind trust, but trust formed through experiences repeated long enough to become an inner truth. I am also inviting you into a new kind of responsibility. Responsibility for your own peace. Before you often sacrificed peace to keep the pace to please others, to avoid disappointing anyone. You treated peace as something that could be postponed. But my beloved, peace is not a reward that comes afterward. It is a condition for walking rightly. When you begin to place peace first, not everything becomes easier right away, but everything becomes clearer. And this clarity protects you from falling back into old cycles. Beloved child, I am refining your ability to listen not only to words, but to motives, rhythms, and silences. You will begin to notice that some invitations are beautifully worded, yet leave your heart feeling heavy, while others are simple and unadorned, yet allow you to breathe more freely. Do not judge by appearances. Judge by the impact they leave within you. What comes from me will never require you to shrink your honesty in order to fit. You may find that you no longer feel the need to explain your path as much as before. Not because you lack regard for others, but because you have stopped seeking permission. You no longer need others to understand in order to move forward. You move because you have understood enough to remain faithful to what I am doing within you. This freedom does not distance you from people. It makes you more genuine in the connections that remain. Beloved child, I want you to recognize that maturity does not always arrive with intensity. More often, it comes with simplicity. You do what is right without drama. You decline what is misaligned without self-defense. You keep boundaries without building walls. These things may not impress quickly, but they form a life that can be sustained over time. And I am building for you a life that can endure, not merely a moment that shines. I am also teaching you how to face differences without needing to assimilate. You do not have to be the same in order to connect. You do not have to agree in order to show respect. When you are grounded in your identity, you can stand beside differing perspectives without feeling threatened. This groundedness makes you a safe place for dialogue. Not because you always have answers, but because you do not react from fear. Beloved child, let me speak to you about the lingering weariness you sometimes feel. It is no longer the fatigue of despair, but the fatigue of transition, like muscles after learning a new movement pattern, not injured, but unfamiliar. Do not mistake this sensation as a sign that you are on the wrong path. It simply means you are learning to use new muscle groups of the soul. The muscles of patience, discernment, and unconditional trust. Beloved child, I am also lifting from you a very subtle pressure. The pressure to maintain a certain image of yourself. You once feared that if you changed, others would be confused or disappointed. But I want you to know this. You are not responsible for preserving a fixed version of yourself so that others feel secure. You are responsible for living truthfully so that you are not divided within. When you live honestly, those who can walk with you will adjust. Those who cannot will turn in another direction without blame or resentment. Beloved child, pay attention to how you are now using words. You no longer speak to fill silence. You no longer speak to control outcomes. You begin to speak when words carry life and to remain silent when silence carries wisdom. This is a very clear sign of spiritual maturity. Your words become fewer, but they carry weight, and that weight does not come from technique but from the alignment between what you say and how you live. I am also teaching you to recognize the moment of enough. Enough words, enough effort, enough striving, enough for today. In the past, you often went beyond the point of sufficiency out of fear of lack. Now you are learning to stop at the right moment. And that stopping keeps you whole. When you know what is enough, you are not swept into empty ambition, nor trapped in passivity. You stand in the middle where action and rest meet. Beloved child, if you look back at who you were in earlier seasons, you will see something clearly. You are no longer living in survival mode. And when survival is no longer the focus, true creativity begins to rise. Not creativity meant to impress, but creativity meant to express life. Ideas come more gently. Paths open more naturally. You do not need to force them. You only need to keep your heart clear so they have a place to land. I want you to know that I deeply value the way you are walking quietly without display yet faithfully. This faithfulness does not always make you feel fast, but it leads you rightly. And right, beloved child, matters more than fast. Fast may bring you early. Right allows you to remain. If there are moments when you wonder whether you are missing out on something, listen to this gentle answer within you. Do not miss what is meant for you while you are becoming the one who can receive it. What cannot wait for you through this process was never designed to stay with you for long. Continue to live with gentle attentiveness. Beloved child, do not grip tomorrow too tightly, and do not diminish today. I am at work in consistency, in quiet things, in choices known only to you and me. And when you look back, you will realize that these silent steps are what led you to a place you could not only reach, but remain in peaceful, whole, and free within the very self I have patiently formed. Beloved Father, I return to you in honesty, without embellishment, without concealment. I acknowledge that there have been days when I kept going, completed everything, smiled, and spoke as though nothing were wrong. Yet deep within, I placed you at the edge, not intentionally, but by habit. I lived on momentum. I allowed my list of things to do to become my breathing rhythm and let the noise of responsibility cover over your quiet invitation. Beloved Father, forgive me for the ways I have grown accustomed to relying on my own strength. For believing that if I did not brace myself, everything would collapse. You are about to enter your divine future. Remember that this message does not end with you. People can use your breakthrough to get where they need to go through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Koi community, you can help this mission. By doing so, you are sowing into the awakening, deliverance, and restoration of souls who are still trapped in darkness. This is not poetry. When Jesus says, "Give and heaven will open over you," every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and safety for your family. Now is your time, my child. Have faith. And as you do, watch God multiply what you let go of. I turned busy into a refuge. Turned constant doing into a way to soothe myself. While my soul quietly dried out within me, draw me back not with rebuke, but with the gentle light of your presence. Restore the right order within me. You are the source, and everything else is only the flow that comes from you. Today I place you back at the center. Not only when I have spare moments, but right in the rhythm of ordinary life. Teach me how to pause, how to breathe, how to listen. And remind me of this truth. I do not need to prove myself to be loved. I am loved because I belong to you. Amen. Beloved Father, I come before you with an honest plea. Realign me. I do not want to keep living in a cycle that leaves me numb, working, completing, enduring, and then feeling empty. I do not want to live as someone who appears fine on the outside while fractured within. I now see that what exhausts me is not merely the volume of work, but the fact that I have drifted from the rhythm you designed for me. Pull me out of the hurry disguised as progress. Teach me that slowing down is not falling behind, but returning to the true center. Help me discern clearly between what needs to be done and what needs to be stayed with. There are tasks I can finish, but there are streams of life that are restored only when I remain close to you. I place into your hands the rhythm of my heart, the rhythm of my days, the rhythm of my thoughts. Reset my priorities before I deal with the demands of life. Let me first touch your presence before I speak to others. Let me hear your voice before I decide. Let me receive peace. Shape my life into an instrument tuned to the right pitch, not losing its sound, but recovering its true tone. Amen. Beloved Father, I thank you for calling me again and again, not to shame me, but to keep me from losing my way. I remember days when I was full of zeal and believed my own strength was enough, and when I began trusting my will more than your guidance. You slowed me down so I would not stray too far from the center. I understand now that was not delay. It was protection. I also remember days of deep exhaustion when I gave too much and held an image for too long. You called me through weariness, through emptiness, through questions without answers. And now you call me a third time, not through storms or collapse, but through a stillness so clear that I can no longer pretend not to hear. Help me not to treat this calling as a side task to be managed, but as a life-defining turning point for my soul. Give me the courage to leave the familiar path of endurance and numbness and to step onto the path of restoration at the root. I do not ask you to make everything easy. I ask you to bring me back to life and help me respond today before I am swept once more into old inertia. Amen. Beloved Father, I confess that I have knocked for a long time on doors you had already closed. I knocked with effort, with excessive sacrifice, with shrinking myself to fit places that no longer belonged to me. I thought persistence was faith. But now I understand some doors close because there is no life for me on the other side. Heal in me the obsession to make it work. Remove from me the stubbornness of a weary soul, the kind that keeps returning to old cycles simply because they are familiar. Teach me how to let go without bitterness, how to walk away without resentment, and how to say goodbye without seeing myself as a failure. I place back into your hands everything I have clung to in order to feel safe. Put into my hands the wisdom to recognize this truth. What comes from you never requires me to destroy myself to keep it. Help me stop chasing what carries no peace. And teach me to walk as one who is led, not as one trying to save himself. Amen. Beloved Father, I confess an old and familiar fear. Whenever you are silent, I am quick to think you have gone away. And when I am afraid, I run. I run faster, do more, knock on more doors, try harder to control, as if noise could fill the emptiness. But today, I choose to stop. I no longer want to mistake your silence for abandonment. Teach me this truth. There are seasons when you do not speak loudly because you are inviting me to listen more deeply. Give me ears of the Spirit, not only ears of reason. Help me recognize your steady presence even in days without clear signs. Grant me peace so that I do not interpret every silence as rejection. I return to the Scripture. Be still and know that I am God. Let stillness become the place where I am restored, not the place where I panic. Teach me again how to live from the center where you dwell, where I belong. Amen. Beloved Father, I have lived far too long in survival mode. I have grown used to bracing myself, fixing myself, managing everything, and carrying the weight of the whole world on my shoulders. I believe that if I did not do hold or strive hard enough, everything would fall apart. And in that misguided belief, I slowly pushed you to the margins. Not because I did not love you, but because I was too exhausted to trust in a gentle way. Father, please break within me the old survival logic. Replace it with trust. Help me know that my life does not depend on how tense I am, but on your guidance. Help me understand this peace is not a reward. After everything is finished, it is the climate in which I learn to walk the right path. I release my grip on the need to control. I loosen my heart from the fear that says if I stop everything will fall apart. Father, let me rest in you. Not resting because I have given up, but resting because I trust that you are still at work. And let me begin again from my breath, from presence, from unconditional love. Amen. Beloved Father, I want to know you in all my ways. Not only in moments of prayer but in every decision. So many times I have run ahead and then come back asking you to bless choices already made. Today I choose a different order. Go before me. Show me the way. I no longer want to run ahead of you. Give me the courage to pause before deciding. Give me the discernment to recognize which opportunities are attractive but not aligned and which paths look ordinary yet carry life. Cleanse my motives so that I do not choose out of fear of falling behind, out of a need to prove myself, or out of fear of being left out. But because I recognize your rhythm, I hold fast to the promise in Proverbs 3 verse 56. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and He will make your path straight. Let me live these words as a habit, not merely as a verse memorized. Guide me and keep me within your guidance. Amen. Beloved Father, I do not only need external adjustments. I need renewal from the root. I am weary of trying to appear okay while feeling empty inside. I am tired of living in old patterns where I endure so well that I forget I was created to truly live. Today I ask you to touch the roots of joy, the roots of hope, the roots of tenderness. Restore the part of me that has gone numb from being unattended for too long. Give back to me the ability to rejoice without anxiety, to rest without guilt, to love without exhaustion. Uproot from me the false emptiness disguised as normal and plant within me a new life, slow, deep and real. I offer my life to you as a field of soil. Plow through the hardened layers, water it with grace. Shine your light upon it so that what you sow may take root and grow. I trust that you do not call me in order to take away, but to preserve what matters most. Amen. Beloved Father, help me look back on my disappointments with new eyes. The doors that once made me weep, I now choose to believe were your protection. The rejections I faced, I now trust were your intervention. The projects that fell apart, I now believe were your realignment. I no longer want to call detours failures. I want to call them lessons and guidance. Heal within me the lingering regret. Unfold the parts of me that once blamed myself. Remind me that you do not keep a record of wrongs and that I do not need to rewind time in order to be loved by you. I only need to return. Give me enough light for the next step, not necessarily for the whole road. Give me the faith not to knock again on doors you have closed. Give me the freedom to walk into what you are opening with the posture of one entrusted, not one begging. And teach me to give thanks even for your no's, for they too are grace. Amen. Beloved Father, I hear this third call. I do not want to ignore it. I do not want to return to the old cycle where I exist efficiently but leave poorly. I choose the path. You illuminate a path that does not promise ease, but promises restoration. A path that does not demand that I run faster, but invites me to dwell deeper. Help me place you in your rightful position, not as a secondary option. Teach me to begin with simple but honest practices, a moment of stillness each day, an unhurried prayer, a decision that asks you before acting. Help me return to you the right to participate fully in my life, in my schedule, my relationships, my work, my finances, and the burdens I often carry alone. I hold fast to the promise that you will walk with me every step, even on days when I think I am walking alone. Give me the courage to return without fear of condemnation. Give me the softness to be healed and the steadiness to move forward. I respond to your call, Father. Here I am. I offer this prayer in the holy name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.